Do you ever wonder why God would do something good through someone who may be evil or maybe just so ordinary? Let me share with you a text from the Bible that makes this problem real to us. Philippians chapter 1, 17 and on. Paul says, those other preachers, they do not have pure motives as they preach about Christ. They preach with selfish ambition, not sincerely, intending to make my chains more painful to me. But that doesn't matter. Whether their motives are false or genuine, the message of Christ is being preached either way. So I rejoice, and I will continue to rejoice. How can Paul be satisfied and even rejoice in the fact that God will use hypocrites to speak about Jesus? Well, let me illustrate it by a story. The Mansell family lived in the New England part of the United States for 150 years. And one of the descendants decided to go up to Brewer, Maine, and do some research to find out about his ancestors. And while going through some records, he found a book describing a certain preacher. At first he wondered whether it was part of his ancestry, but then discovered it wasn't. But it really interested him in what it said about that preacher. It said something like this, that when he got into the pulpit, people wished that he would never leave the pulpit, for he spoke so well. But when he was outside the pulpit, he lived such a bad life, people wished he'd never get into the pulpit. Strange how that would work. Later on, Mr. Mansell found out that that was a paraphrase that Charles Wesley made of someone that he was describing. How God would use someone whose life is entirely a contradiction to even what they preach. God would even use that person. Doesn't that give us just a little bit of encouragement? Or maybe it makes us think, well, how could we ever listen to anybody that's a hypocrite? Well, there is a man. His last name was Cain. Cain, in the 1800s, led a team of explorers to reach the North Pole. And as Mr. Cain mixed with the Eskimos, he surprised them by something that he did one day. He cut a crystal clear piece of ice carefully out, and he shaped it into a kind of a lens. And then he held it up to the sunlight and let the rays of the sun shine through that ice, crystal clear ice, onto a pile of dry wood. You know what happened? Of course, the sun rays shining through that ice set the wood ablaze. The Eskimos were surprised. They thought this was magic. How could he ever do that? How could cold ice produce a hot fire? Well, we understand that it is because the sunlight, the rays of the sun shining through it. But that cold ice seems like a contradiction to setting wood ablaze. But that is a type of our life too, isn't it? We are just ordinary cold ice. You would never expect anything good to come through cold ice. Not a fire, not a flame. And yet God, the Sun of righteousness, shines through our ordinariness, cold ice, and can produce something so good. I believe that gives us encouragement. That God can use us in spite of our weaknesses, in spite of even our faults. And He can do something good through you and through me today. May that encouragement lift your day and make your day meaningful. If you want to learn more about the Fletcher Seventh-day Adventist Church, you can go to our website, which is www.fletchersda.org. And I'm Ivan Blake, the senior pastor, wishing you God's blessing, and let the flame burn because the Sun of Righteousness shines through you.